Well, we have Arise business analyst and anchor, Boason Omofaye, joining us now to review these stories in the business headlines. Always good to have you in the studio.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's a Monday. This just got another week started.
It sure is. Well,
great.
UBA has provided about $100 million worth of loans to small and medium businesses.
I was just writing down because
and enterprises.
I love that
side. In 20 African countries.
I love that. In 20 countries, and
commendable.
99% of that is in Africa. And I think we should. And this sounds a little bit like a PR for UBA, but again, it is what it is. In May last year, the Afrexim Bank did roughly $9 to $10 billion funding deal to be factored through UBA at the annual meetings of Afrexim Bank. It's one of the biggest deals that was done at the Afrexim Bank's annual meetings in Accra May last year. And that shows how much United Bank for Africa is supporting trade. Intra-Africa trade, of course, to help countries and businesses, private sector across Africa, get necessary funding to do local manufacturing, pay for warehousing, do logistics, and a few other things like that. Letters of credit and what have you between Nigeria, Ghana, Lesotho, Malawi, wherever it is. Then you find this particular $100 million, and the good news about it again is that it's going with one of the major institutions of the continent, which is the Africa Guarantee Fund. The idea is to, and that shows how much the confidence that this fund has as far as UBA is concerned, that look, if we are guaranteeing this particular fund, then we have what it takes to say, look, they can support SMEs across Africa. And mind you, most of these SMEs will be women-led SMEs across Africa, and that is one good news, because it's going to support more of women enterprises, women entrepreneurship, innovation across Africa, whether it is in technology, whether it is in food and food processing and agro-allied. We've seen a few women-led of such businesses in Africa, creative art industry, those who are in the handcraft and other creative work, like using fabrics, doing cotton and textile locally, and what have you. So this is one good news today to start for Nigeria. That's good news. $100 million by whatever exchange rate you use, black, yellow, whatever market, is still a whole lot of money on the street. And that we have a bank that is headquartered in Nigeria and is going to do this through UBA in Guinea, in Cameroon, in Burkina Faso, in other parts of Africa, and all the way to other parts of the world. I think it's one big news for Nigeria. We have a Nigerian bank that these Pan-African Risk Fund agencies, the AGF, is partnering with and say, look, we can support this. We know that you will disburse this fund. We know that you will support small and medium enterprises, because we've seen what you've done with Afrexim Bank. We've seen what you've done with other international agencies in using this African bank, but headquartered in Nigeria, owned mostly by Nigerians as shareholders, and creating wealth in Nigeria and supporting SMEs across Africa. Remember, the SMEs and the Hess Holding Foundation and Tony Elubelu Foundation also support entrepreneurship for these $10,000, I think about $5,000 or $10,000 every year when they all come across Africa to Nigeria for entrepreneurship as seed funding for them to do businesses across Africa as well. Also small and medium enterprises. So I think it's one good news. I'm happy that we have Nigerian banks that are leading from the front with international organizations that, yes, we can do a whole lot more. Whichever way it comes out, this is good news as we speak. I think it's a good one.
Yes, very well said. So let's talk about South Africa's mining and manufacturing data. What can we expect?
Of course, everyone is looking at Transnet and Eskom. Those are the two devils in the details, as it were. The Transnet is the South Africa's government-owned logistics company, which is in charge of the rail tracks and all of that, all the way to the seaports in Durban, in Cape Town, two of the major seaports in South Africa, where you have most of the imports and exports for South Africa is through Durban, Port of Durban and Cape Town. Those are the two largest, aside other seaports in South Africa. And these two companies, this company Transnet has been a serious problem in terms of government is looking at about 52 billion rand to bail it out. They haven't done massive investments in many years, as it were, to get new coaches, new carriages, get new facility, infrastructure to support them. So you've got problems with the mining companies, Implats, DRD Gold, Harmony, whatever, trying to get their resources using these coaches to the seaports, because you can't move them by vehicles or any other means. So you got to be through locomotives and what have you to get them. So there's a problem there. So we've seen all of this as a problem. Then you get to the seaport, because things can get into, these goods can't get to the ports. The export is also slow. So you've got a lot of containers this can get out of the country. You have goods coming into South Africa. Transnet is also responsible for the bulk of moving those containers out of the seaports as well. So you have congestion at the ports in South Africa. So that is one major issue that could hobble this mining data for that particular sector. The mining data would also have to do with mining prices, resource prices, which were dented last year in a manner of speaking, with the exception of gold, which is a little bit, which is trading around about $2,100 an ounce right now. So they will have to deal with that. Then you have the bigger problem of electricity, which is the rolling blackouts in South Africa, and the mining sector is at the heart of that. They're the one who uses, these folks are the one who use most of the electricity output in South Africa, because you need this very heavy electricity to dig, to go several meters under the ground to get this platinum or gold, whatever, and other basic resources out to the surface. So it's been really tough on mining sector in South Africa. Then if you move to the side of manufacturing, and now you see how companies would have to deal with that. A number of companies from around Europe and mostly Europe are looking to expand their footprints in terms of foreign direct investment in South Africa. For example, Toyota is doing a bit of that. Dunlop also made some announcements, I guess, a couple of months ago, last year. So you find manufacturers who want to expand footprint in South Africa, but the issue of electricity is becoming a major issue. So if this manufacturing and mining data don't come out too well, for the Ramaphosa's administration is going to be an issue. There's an election on May 29, which is just about 3 months away. So the ANC will be under serious pressure. Remember when the GDP for the fourth quarter came out, and for the year came out last week, 0.6% for the full year. Fourth quarter was 0.2% positive, just dodged the recession bullet. Folks, of course, you know, the opposition came and said, well, 0.6% is not enough for us to move on as South Africa. But again, how would the most advanced economies in Africa be posting 0.6% GDP growth? Look, it's positive, but it's in the water, in a manner of speaking. But if you look at 2023, in terms of this Transnet crisis and Eskom, if you take those two, aside corruption and a few other issues, those two companies, Transnet and Eskom, account for most of the problems that investors in businesses, in manufacturing, in mining are considering about today. And that's, of course, you know, is a playbook for jobs, for jobless data. So you see South Africa dealing with about 32% unemployment figure, and majority of folks who are blacks, many of them cannot get access to finance, as it were. So do you see the level of crimes coming up, folks attacking power facilities and all of that. So, but I think it's been a couple of actions being taken to try and resolve the energy crisis. They had a new electricity minister last year, trying to hit the ground running. The new investments in new energy, what they call the green energy or clean fuel, aside fossil fuel, is coming on. But coal plant report is also expected in South Africa, which gives you, I think that should be out in the next days or so, to give you an idea, an assessment of the coal industry in South Africa and how much of this dirty fuel could still be used to power the economy back to the level at which it's needed, both for these two key sectors, mining and manufacturing. And then while the clean energy is being worked on, whether it's solar, wind, and what have you, nuclear energy at the other hand. So and gas as well. So it's a whole lot of trouble right now. So South Africa is one of the leading economies on the continent. It's not in a very good shape as we speak right now. And so that goes to that report that the biggest economies in Africa are the ones who are hurting the most. South Africa, Nigeria, Kenya, Egypt is trying to work its way out of this right now with this IMF deal we talked about earlier. $8 billion, that could go to 20. A few other countries are interested in pitching into that. The stock market came out very strong on Sunday. That was yesterday, 5.27%. Markets start trading on Sunday. It's the start of the week on Sunday in Cairo. And the market came out very strong, 5.27%. So foreign portfolio investors are coming into, whether from Arab world or from North African region or from outside elsewhere in the world, the hot money, as you call it, if you want to put it into stocks and all that, bonds are coming through. And again, UAE and Saudi Arabia are all standing by to support President al-Sisi and that. So we could see some measure of stability moving on, but devaluation is still an issue to deal with as far as the currency is concerned.
Well, there you have it. A lot to unpack. You've left us with a lot to think about. Thank you, as always.
Thank you. It's a Monday.
Boason,
Yes, it is.
Thank you, Topana.
Thank you,
so
Boason
much
Omofaye, for coming and sharing with us. Well.